So here what we're going to be doing is we're going to be wiring a 3-way, 4-way, a 3-way, and I have 2 lights, one here and one down at the end. In the previous videos I did the receptacle and the switch. So now we're going to add this wire will tie in here, and this is where we're going to pick up our power. I'm just going to bring my, oops, sorry. Get my needle nose, break the tab off, put my cable in, my hammer, staple, and I stapled the wire down. Just got stapled, nailed it down. And now I'm stapled within 8 inches, within 8 inches, within 8 inches, all my wires in. So I got a 14-2 hot coming in. I'll leave this for last. I've got a 14-2 hot coming in, going to my first 3-way. Okay, so it's a 14-2. 14-2, 2 insulated conductors. Then I got a 14-3, got 3 insulated conductors. Comes across, goes to where my 4-way is going. Okay, so here's the 14-3, comes from over there. Here's a 14-3 going from there to this box. And then from here I got the switch leg, just like the drawing that I did last night. So here's my switch leg, comes up to my light. I got a 14-2 coming to this light, and I got a 14-2 going out to that light. That light's already installed. Okay, this one I left the grounds. There's a couple of different ways of doing the grounds. So one is you can crimp them on. You have to have a good connection so it doesn't come loose. Or the other is the green receptacle, and it has a hole that you can just thin in and the wire comes out the side. So I'll use that down here. Okay. So I'm going to get my crimpers. I like to carry these when I'm doing rough end. I like to carry these. It's a multi-tool. So instead of this, okay, so it's smaller, so it's lighter, but I have a lot of tools in one. Okay. I have a bolt cutter, I have a crimper, I have a wire stripper, I have a wire cutter, and at the end, so I can make my wires together, so I can twist them together. So here, I got my little barrel, like a little barrel, coupling, splice bore. Bring it in over the wire. Bring the back part here. That's where it crimps. And squeeze it down. Okay, before you go out and you spend on these, check with your local jurisdictions if it's required or not. And I won't get these in, those are all, okay, you have to make sure that your connection is not going to come loose. So that's why I'm using them, just to make sure when I twisted those wires together, they don't come loose. So here it has a green screw. It's kind of faded now. The box is a little bit old. These are the boxes that are reused and reused at school. And I forgot to grab some new ones. Get these wires to the back. I can either wire nut this, put a pigtail, or I can just land them the way they are on the screw. Strip them out, get my hook, or my eye. And you notice the book tells you to use your needle nose. I'm using my strippers. Okay. Right at the end, I can grab them down. Come down about an inch, grab them, and then just roll it around. Okay. lights that I'm using has 2 brass screws and 2 silver screws. There's a tool that I like to use because it helps from slipping. So you can see the end, it has a little diamond. It's like a screwdriver, but it has a little diamond. You look at the screws have that little diamond. So when you stick it in there, it's like a Phillips. It keeps it from slipping. Your receptacles and your switches also have the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to get, okay, ground is the first to make, last to break, so I made up my grounds. I landed my ground. My next one is my grounded wires, which is my white wires. Get them on the screw here. I like to just give it a little squeeze snug when I tighten the screws. Not all the way, just give it a little snug and tighten the screws down. Tighten the screws down. Okay, now I'm going to get my blacks. One black. Screw down, another black, tighten the screw down. You want to make sure you get your screws on there nice and snug so they don't come loose. Guess what? You got this bare wire sitting in the back. The last thing you want. Okay, don't force these wires back in. Kind of bend it and get it on. The screws are already on here. All I got to do is turn it, twist it. Phillips. These are Phillips screws. Tighten the screws down. Get the light bulb, put my light bulb in, and that's done. Okay, so my 2 lights are in. Wire came up, here's a staple, comes into the box, goes out of the box, stapled, comes across. Because my distance, I still have to staple it within 8 inches of the box. There was a metal box is 12. Okay. With all of these, my grounds have already been done up. So now I have to make my neutrals. I can start there, it doesn't really matter. I'll start at this end. So my ground is there to the back. Get my grounded wires. Cut the end off. 3/4 of an inch or so. Trip the wires. Okay. With these wire nuts, we're not required. According to manufacturer's installation, it says you don't have to twist them. So you just bring your wires together. A little bit too long. And then just get them. Twist them when they get nice and tight. Once the wires start to twist, they're good. Tug on it, doesn't come loose. Fold it up nice and neat. Tug it into the back of the box. That one's done. Okay, come over here, grab this one. About 1/2 inch is all I need. For the wire nut, grab my wire nut. I like to carry a nail apron and carry all my tools in it. Right now I got them on the table, but I carry them in my pouch. Instead of carrying the tool pouch, carry a nail apron. So I got my staples, I got my wire nuts. Okay. Twist the wire nut, get it nice and tight. The wires start twisting together, you're good. Give it a tug, doesn't come loose. All I do is I roll it. Okay, I get it down, bend it in, fold it in, it's kind of rolled in. If I ever have to get it, it just rolls right out. So there, just grab your finger and you can roll it right out. There to there. When I was wiring houses many moons ago, well, but I do it now. When I do my rough end, I get my, here's my, let me put these down a bit. So So we don't put the devices in when we're wiring. We put these in. We put the devices in after the drywall goes up, insulation and drywall. So what I always do is I get it with my thumb, push down, halfway out, bend it, okay, and then fold it in. So that way the drywall people come in, put the drywall in. So now all I have to do is when I come back in here to put my devices in, stick my finger in there, the wires fold out nice and neat. I'm not forcing them back in. I'm not bending the wires more than I need to. So it allows me to save my wire when I go in. So I'm going to do the last one over here. There's other people that bend them. Okay. Grab my wire nut. I'm going to use the yellow one this time. Oh, this one, these I'm going to twist together. I'm going to get my tool and show you how this. So you gather the wires, and you can twist it. Be soft with it because this is soft metal, soft copper. Copper is soft compared to the metal of this. So what happens is when you twist them, you can damage your wire with your needle nose, okay? And then that stops the ability, because you're making the wire smaller, you're pulling those soft spots. So all of a sudden, because you nick off some of that copper, now you went from a 14 gauge to a 15 gauge. So instead of handling the 15 amp breaker, it handles less. As so they say, okay? It shouldn't be a problem. Alright, so I got my devices all wired. I'm going to wait for this to the last. I'm going to get all my devices turned in. So I got all my 3-ways. Here's the one that I had. I picked up a Decora one for the 4-way when I got out of, when we left school, and I picked up some material. Instead of picking a toggle switch 4-way like this one, I picked up a Decora one. So I'm going to have 2 regular toggles, and I'm going to have a Decora for my 4-way in the middle. So I'm going to start at the end. 3-ways. Okay. Now I have to know which is my hot, which are my travelers. So this is my travelers. Pop out 1 inch, make the hook. Okay. These allow you to backstab, and then if you want to take them out, you can. But because we reuse these all the time, we reuse these at school, we always make the hook and land the hook on the screw, so it's not a lot harder work to remove them when we put them in. Okay. Again, I always get a little snug. Get my special tool here. This is what the screwdriver is designed. I bought them in Milwaukee. They had them on sale, so I bought the Milwaukee brand. Because of the price. Okay. I forgot to do my ground first. So my ground is always my first to make, my last to break. Get my ground. Get it a little snug there. Tighten it down. Hot. Now my hot, which I know this is a 14 right here, is my hot that comes from right here. Okay, that goes on the black screw, which is my common screw. Tighten the screw down. Okay. So this 3-way really doesn't matter. The way you look at the drawing, the ground will go to the bottom. Get them in. Make sure you're pushing your ground out of the way because you do have bare screws, and getting it to the side. Okay. I'm using my electric screwdriver to screw the plates down. If we were in school, we don't use Power tools. In school, we don't use power tools. If you want to bring your power tool is okay to use when you're putting your device in. I don't like people to use the power tools on the screws because they could strip them out. Or when they're taking the screws off, they get too fast and they pop the screw out, and then you can't get the screw in, so we got to toss it away. Okay, so we use devices. We get the switchblade. I need a trim screwdriver, which is the skinnier one. The other one is a little bit too thick. And I got my device. The switches are ivory. All my covers that I have are white, unfortunately. Okay, come to the 4-way. I have to make sure I got my pairs separated. So here's one 14-3 that comes from over there. That's this one. And then this 14-3 are these two. And it comes to this side. I'm getting my ground. I got my hook on my ground. Oops, this one I don't need a hook. This one has a little clamp, so all I have to do is get my wire in, slide the screw down, and done. Okay. So now it's done. Okay, the way this one works, my ground will be to the bottom, and the way I do it, I have my in, I have my out. Okay, well, here's my in coming from over there, that's this pair, here's my out. And it doesn't matter if it's the other way around, so you just have to remember is, what's my in, what's my out? Kind of trying to figure it out in your head, so that way you have your pairs. This one, the way you wire it, one pair goes to the top, the other pair goes to the bottom. So you don't get them confused, just wait till do it till the last minute, okay? So here I'm going to strip these two. Okay, get my black. I always got a bad habit, not a bad habit, but it's the habit. Black is on the left, red is on the right. It's got a little clamp on the inside, tighten my screw down, and it's in. So I got my first pair in. Now I get my second pair. Okay. Strip the end. The end. Red on this side. Got that in. Tighten it down. Tighten it down. Starting to get warm out here today. We had that cool weather last week, and we had this cold weather, hot weather this week. Make sure you position your ground to the side so it doesn't make contact. Snake it back in. It's supposed to be in the low 90s today, and upper 60s, low 70s tomorrow. Sometime next week they're saying that we're going to be in our 30s at night. Our lows at night would be in the 30s, and our highs during the day would be in the 60s. So, go figure. Okay, got a decor plate. My decor plate. Line up the screws. Got my trim screwdriver. Screwdrivers. It's always wise to have various sizes. Okay. These are my Klein set, so I have various sizes of screwdrivers for whatever I'm doing. When I go to the trim plates, these might be too big. Okay, this is a small trim. I'm partial to the 6-inch compared to the 4-inch. It's personal preference. It's up to you. Insulated screwdrivers. I have them. These are all insulated screwdrivers up to 1,000 volts. One is a Husky. This one is the square. So on the breakers, the square one goes in. This one always goes in too. These are rated at 1,000 volts. Again, your preference, what you want to use. All right, go to the last 3-way. I do prefer Klein but some specialty tools, because they are expensive and I don't use them as much as I used to. You start getting older and do less work, well, you need less tools. And then the body don't function as good as it used to. So again, ground's the first to make, last to break. My ground, snug it a little bit. Tighten the screw. Okay. That's going down, so I said I'm going to prefer putting the over there. Tighten the screw. That's one of my travelers. Here's my other traveler. Under the screw. Tighten it down. There's my hot, which comes, my switch leg going up, so that would be my other common. My travelers, between the three ways is the 14-3. They go on the brass screw, and my common screw, which would either be the hot coming in or the switch leg going out to the light, would go on the black screw. Everything's connected. Kind of pull the wires back in. Make sure your ground is to the side and away from your switch and your wires, because you don't want that ground to hit that bare screw. Some electricians, I was one of them, when I worked for somebody else, I used to put a wrap of tape on the device. Okay. I'm not going to do it here because this is only a temporary. So if I was doing a job, I would get a roll of tape, some black tape, and I would wrap it around my device. I'm going to get my knife. Okay, my electrician knife, Hunkville electrician knife. Strip my wire. I can use a knife, but I got those other wires, I don't want to damage them. I'm just using my scissors here. Take the insulation off. I'm not going to take these off because I'm just going to land the other two wires on here. I disconnected the ground because I have to make a connection with my ground wire. All paper, twist on my hand. I can use my hand, or I can use the alignments, needle nose. Give it a couple twists, make sure it's nice and tight. Cut this access because I only need one wire. Get my green screw, pull it through, twist it off. I like to twist them, okay, to give you a nice good connection, that we don't have to worry about this connection coming loose. Then put your ground line. Okay, now we'll fold this to the back, bring this wire to the bottom. Now I can land this wire on my device. Make my hook. Put my ground in. Use some white wire here. Hook. Neutral, or my grounded wire, sorry. Not a neutral. A neutral is a neutral when it's carrying the unbalanced current in the circuit. This one is not going to carry the unbalanced because it's only got one hot. So it's only tied into one hot, so it's a grounded wire. So my white wire is called a grounded wire, not a neutral. ground to the side. Pull this back in, make sure my ground is not making contact with anything. Yeah, I got to make sure that I take care of that ground because this circuit is plugged into a GFI. My power supply that I'm using to come in is a GFI arc fault. So I need to make sure that my ground is away from everything, or else my power will not come on. Device on. For my power source, I got a panel there at the end that I'm using to turn power on and off. This screwdriver does work, but I like using the trim. This is a bigger one than the trim screwdriver, but I like using the small one. When I get my screws in, okay, let me go back, fix this one. Get them snug. It's just something I learned 40 plus years ago. You get your screws in there. Like in the code book says, is to install everything in a workmanlike manner. So if you notice all the screws, oops, I've got the reciprocal one. The slot of the screws are up and down. So it just looks like either have them all going in one direction. Instead of all the screws going in different workmanlike manner, I got all my screws going up and down. Okay? Up and down. You want the slot is up and down. Turn my power on. Alright. See if this works. Okay. Come on. It went off. And it comes on. Okay. This one here, I have a plug tester. I have my wiggy. Okay. When you're testing, it's always nice. Put one lead on one end, the other lead on top. Instead of going side by side, tell them power's off, power's on. Okay. Why those come on now? Because this is switched. Now it's all off. The receptacle is switched, and I did that intentionally because I'm just showing that I'm picking up off the circuit. But my 3-ways do work. This switch was always hot, and I'm going to change that. I'm going to change this, and I'm going to put a light, and then this would always be hot, and then there would be a switch light. The switch would feed something else. Because I'm going to put in a switch receptacle, so this receptacle will always be hot. And I'm going to add a receptacle somewhere around here, and that would be half hot, a split wired receptacle, so it would be half hot and half switch, and this switch would control that. Okay, that would be on a separate video. Alright, thank you.